everybody, welcome to Mill's Pets. There has been a bright light, and that is this little guy, Stymie. He is a lot of fun, even though he has been a challenge. I'm going to share a little bit about his story, and you'll understand more when I get into that. But first I should probably share why I even got a parrot, because if you do listen to the podcast, you will know that I planned to never get one again. The thing is, I have had a parrot or two for most of my life, and being without one was really hard. But if you are a parrot lover, you may feel the same way. I don't think they should be pets. I really don't. They are wild animals. A lot of people don't realize parrots are not domesticated animals. He is hardwired in his brain to live in the wild. He doesn't have anything telling him that he belongs in a house. So that leads to a lot of issues with parrots, which it's not really issues, it's just that they're hardwired to be wild animals. One of the ways I worked through this was the smaller the better. One of the things that is hard about parrots is they live an extremely long time, and I knew that I did not have a lifetime left for a parrot. I do remember years ago when I had Spanky, I thought maybe I have enough years if she passes away first to get a cockatiel. But as I looked into it, cockatiels just don't have large parrot feel to me, even though he is smaller than a cockatiel. There are certain things that smaller birds don't do the same as large birds. For example, they don't tend to hold food. Unfortunately, he's not showing you, but he can hold his food, or hold toys and things like that. I've had a budgie and I've had a lovebird, and they just don't do that type of stuff. So while I had originally thought about a cockatiel, I ended up learning more about green-cheeked conures in the time since, because they have really come onto the pet scene and become a popular species of parrot to have. And they do things like holding food and things that seem more like a large parrot. In fact, if I hadn't told you that he's smaller than a cockatiel because he looks like a big parrot, you probably would have thought he was bigger than he really is. So I did decide on a specific species. I also wanted a male parrot because females can get super hormonal with laying eggs, and it's very scary. Spanky thankfully only ever laid one egg, and that's how I found out for sure that she was a female. But I did not want that to happen. So I was specifically looking for a boy. I've been told that he is a male, but I don't know. He did have a band on his right leg originally, which I think can sometimes indicate male, but I definitely don't have any paperwork saying he's a boy. So if one day he lays an egg, I'm not going to be surprised. But I hope he's a boy, because I don't want to deal with egg laying. You can't spare neuter a parrot. The third thing that I was trying to be open to was having a rehomed parrot. My family does not want to have a parrot if I pass away before the parrot does, and I just hope someone changes their mind with that. But because I have that own concern, I wanted to open my heart to someone else who had that need. And so he is a rehomed parrot, which is going to lead me to talking about his personality and things that I have to work on with him, because being a rehomed parrot, it's a whole other issue than getting a little baby parrot who worships the ground you walk on. I am going to talk about some issues we're working on first with him. First of all, the only bad thing I was told about him was that he had cage aggression. Luckily, I had a cage for him already, which made this a little bit easier, because I had confidence in the cage before he did. If you don't know about parrots, they can become very possessive of their cages and kind of lash out at anybody who gets near their cage. But he was not used to this cage when he was brought home, so thankfully that allowed me to be like, hey, I have to reach into this cage to get your water and food and clean it and tough toenails if you don't like it type of thing. And thankfully that has helped, because from day one I had confidence in the cage more than he did. He now loves his cage and is starting to show a little bit of that cage aggression, but I just need to maintain my confidence in trying to clean it out and work on it so that he doesn't fall back into that mentality that he definitely had. it's hard for me to talk about Stymie and not talk about his previous home situation to the point where his name is not Stymie. I was pretty much asked to keep his original name, and I have, but I had my heart set on Stymie. And someday, hopefully, I'll make a video about my name theme with parrots, because that fits into that. But, yeah, I don't feel like his story is mine to tell. So I feel like on YouTube he's going to be Stymie. But I have to kind of allude to some things here in order to explain issues I'm having with taming him, and certainly reaching out to you if you have any suggestions or advice. One of the things that I'm working on is hand taming him. Basically, he was a cage-bound bird. I understand why, and I do not judge the situation because I understand why and know the story. I want to stick up for the original home that he had, even though it's not the way I would raise a bird. As you can tell, he's not in the cage, and I make sure he gets out of the cage because that's just not the way a bird should live. It's not how I would do it, but at the same time, I have to say I understand the story. Whew, that's a lot to explain. Hopefully that makes sense. But anyway, he's not hand tamed because I don't think he was let out of the cage, and boy, that has been so hard. He will get on my finger to get a treat, and that alone is a huge deal because he would not do that for forever. I have to just celebrate any small little baby step that he has because it has been a very, very slow process. But as soon as he's on my finger, he pretty much will jump off or fly off, run away, enjoy his little treat. So if you have any suggestions about how to keep a bird on your finger other than just feeding them constantly. He has a few times, at least now, stayed on my finger, and oh, the neatest thing is the last time, well, might be the last couple times, he was allowing me to pet his head, and I worked on some of his pin feathers. If you don't know parrots, their feathers come in still in a sheath, and you can kind of work that out. So he had some on his head that I wanted to help him with, and that was showing so much trust. I would say he comes across very much to me as a wild bird, which he is. And I have to just remind myself of that. And one of the things I tell people when I get discouraged about the extremely slow process I've had with him, and I've had him for about 3 months now, the extremely slow progress, I should say, is that I remind myself that we have a lifetime together. If he lives a full lifespan, he's got like 18 to 28 years left of life, and we have forever to figure things out. So I try to stay positive thinking that way. My commands are up and down, and basically I really can only work on up with him because, like I said, he will take off. He's like, I got my treat, goodbye. So if you have any tips for teaching up and down, please let me know. The other one I'm working on with him is head rub, which is the word I use with Spanky for petting her head. And I hope he gets better at that because then I can help him with those little pin feathers. With parrots, you should only pet them on their head, I should mention. So the other thing I'm working on is using the word touch, just so he will be a little bit more used to my fingers coming at him. He is incredibly afraid of hands. It is astounding how afraid of hands he is. He will just look at your hand with suspicion and just stare at your hands. It's really, well, it's sad, you know, and I understand why he does, but it is kind of sad. This is the last issue I'm going to talk about, and I feel bad because this poor little guy, I'm just saying all these negative things about him, but it's not negative so much as that I wanted to share what's been happening the past 3 months, things we're working on, and also reach out if you have any suggestions. The last thing I'm going to talk about is that he was not fed fresh produce. As far as I can tell, was not fed fresh produce. Again, I understand. I was told why. I understand. And I'm not going to judge for that. But boy, it's been hard to get him to eat anything. The lady who was looking after him said that he liked grapes, and he does. The other thing I found that he is willing to eat is apples. But obviously I want him to eat vegetables too. And he just doesn't like anything too much. But thankfully he is starting to show some interest in produce And I appreciate that so much because it's been 3 months and I feel like just now he's starting to have a little bit of interest. I feed him produce every day, and it usually ends up going in the garbage. But lately he is showing some interest, and I just have to be grateful for that. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about his personality, which I think is a much more positive topic. Again, all of this is just to share what's been going on the past 3 months with trying to tame him and get to know him. Yeah, you're doing a good job. And it's so great to see that he's willing to be in front of the camera, at least for now. His personality. From pretty early on, I could tell that he was going to love baths. He is able to bathe in his water bowl, and he goes all out. He makes a huge mess, and he loves it. He is so excited when he takes a bath and so happy. It's really neat to watch and to see him. I do have a little short of what he looks like after a bath. I can link to that in the description for you. But boy, it's so funny to see how into it he gets with baths. It's really great that he does bathe. I never had problems with Spanky either, but apparently some parrots don't like to bathe. And people then have to spritz them, but now he looks like he's going to be willing to take care of it himself. He takes a bath about usually more than once a week. It's hard to explain how often, but it's usually more than once a week. Another thing that he likes, as his personality has started to come out and he's become a little more vocal, is he will sing with me, which is really sweet because Spanky would do that too. Spanky would sing and dance, but he does not seem to have too much dancing skill. But he does like to sing, and he just seems like he is very proud of himself when he does it, which is really funny. It's fun to watch. I just had to add this in a wee bit later if he looks like he's in a different spot. I was told that he enjoyed a specific TV channel, and thankfully they have live streams on YouTube, and what he likes is PBS Kids. His favorite show so far that I can tell is Work It Out Wombats, especially when they have music going and stuff like that. So that's kind of a fun little extra thing about his personality too, is that he loves Work It Out Wombats. And let's watch him just for a second here as he tries produce. Not sure if you can tell, but he just kind of moves it around and he doesn't eat it. Just kind of like, what is this stuff? Well, at least, that's a little bit of progress there, is just seeing him enjoying licking it, I guess. The last thing about his personality is he came up with a game with that orange ball that you can see that he's near. He came up with a game that he likes to drop it off the top of the cage and then have me fetch it for him. My joke is that I don't know that I have a pet parrot so much as the pet parrot thinks that he has a pet dog. He has a big personality. I would say he's like a macaw in a tiny parrot's body. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Right now he's 2 years old, which is kind of a hormonal growing up time in a green-cheeked conure. So he could mellow out over time. It's been hard for me because Spanky was so tame. She pretty much just had complete confidence and trust in me, and he has next to none. So it's been a huge learning process and time for me to be patient and give him the space and time that he needs to come around. The thing is, if I really look back at 3 months ago, I would know that leaps and bounds were made in the past 3 months. And I kind of need to focus on that to realize how far he's come, because he really has. I hope you had fun getting to know Stymie a little bit. I'm grateful that he's willing to appear on camera, because right now he is the only animal in the house that is probably willing to appear on camera. The cats just do not like being in videos. I don't know about those cats. They're like, you can make a video, but we're not going to be in it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and getting to know Stymie a little bit. I hope you have a great day. Bye!